Okay. So our meeting's being recorded. Let's see. Still no John that I can see. There we go. So let's talk ham size stuff. If Nathaniel, you're up to that.
I am totally up to that. Sorry I'm late.
That's okay.
Yes, it's it turns out that we dropped Anthony off at daycare right before, supposed to be right before 9, but it's actually it's sometimes hard to get out the door. I'm sure many people here can understand that. But whoops, sorry. Let me get this squared away here. While I'm getting this set up, do you want to just quickly tell me what you've talked about so far?
Mostly the agenda and trying to look at the claim code, which is very easy to remember, but I just forgotten it. So the Christina had 2 specific questions about, well, one specific question about ham site travel. Okay.
Yes, I had questions about ham site travel. That was actually number 1 on my agenda too. So I sent David Kasdan an email a night ago, and David did kindly respond. And but let me bring this up. I have a list of people from Case Western that are coming to the ham site workshop that I know about, and including Christina, even though I know she's not really a Case Western person. Well, maybe, I don't know, dude, she is at heart. So I know at heart she's a Case Western person, but on paper, she now belongs to the Space Science Institute. So let's get this. Let me get the whole view here, gallery. Okay. Peace. All right, so according to my records, these are the people that I have from Case Western, including Christina, that are coming to the ham site workshop.
Yes.
Yeah,
Now,
I'm not missing any undergrads. I checked with the club officers last night.
Okay. And you said there might be one more?
It's possible if you have space. I don't think I can get this one paid for locally.
I will, for one of your students, I will make space.
All right, I'll let folks know that.
Okay.
Yes. So so this is what I have here. So CWRU. My computer's been really slow. This is one of these things that, like, I should really get myself a new computer, but I could buy one with the grants. But I also know that the university is just going to give me a new one this summer. So it's like, if I just hold out another like 5 months or whatever, I'll get someone else to pay for it. Okay, so why don't, Christina, you said you had questions about travel. Why don't I get your question first before I ask my questions? Is Christina there?
Okay. I think it was mostly about whether or not she was double counted. And I've noticed that you definitely counted her under Scranton.
This is where I see Christina, can we hear you? You were not muted anymore.
Audio was cutting in and out on my side, so I didn't.
What's that?
The audio is cutting in and out on my side, so I didn't actually hear what you asked.
I tell you what, perhaps I can speak for you here, Nathaniel. Our department officer, I need to check with him. He may have included funding for people beyond our undergrads for whom the funding was approved by the department chairman. So we may be double funding some people. I will check today. I'll get back to you.
Okay, right. So here, okay, that makes sense. So then let me go into my questions then. So, when you say you're funding them, what does that mean?
Our department chairman kindly set aside travel money for amateur radio club students wishing to attend conferences. And he has made it an ongoing fund. We're spending this year's entire allotment on the undergrads traveling to Hamsci.
Okay, and so that's covering their hotel, their registration costs, all of that?
Yes,
Okay, so the people, so on this list, that would be Andre, Adam, Andre, and Nathaniel.
not Nathaniel.
Okay, is anyone paying for Nathaniel?
I don't know.
Okay. Is he presenting or co-authoring or anything at the conference? Or is he just showing up as I'm an interested person?
My best understanding is the latter.
Okay, because if he in some way helps out with one of the Case Western presentations, if he does something, then I can justify paying.
I certainly understand. Let me ask him if he can be involved in our demos. That's the most likely here.
Okay, and that would be perfectly fine. So yeah,
I'll
as
send
long
him a
as
note
he's
right
like,
now.
okay, great. So Nathaniel is currently a question mark, but he's probably gonna be a Scranton, paid for by Scranton. So then, David, I am paying for you with the Scranton budget then, right?
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Great. Christina, I'm paying for you with the Scranton budget. Is that true?
Thank you. I also appreciate you. However, I think that I am currently also on the case budget.
Okay,
So we'll have to straighten that out on our end. And I assume if David is going to be in touch with Sal, that'll be where that happens.
okay. So I guess what I want, so this is a question mark. So Christina's a question mark also. Oops, that's Rachel. Christina's a question mark. Rachel, I'm paying for you with this Scranton budget.
That sounds good.
Great. John Gibbons, I'm paying for you with this Scranton budget. I don't see a John Gibbons. Does that look correct to you? Okay. I'm paying for Matt Cannell with the Scranton budget.
He's involved with the demos.
Great. And then some other CWRU student is involved, may or may not be involved.
Correct. I'll let you know that's Victor, and I've forgotten his last name. I'm sorry. He's a new
Okay.
club member.
Victor. Okay, and I may be paying for him. Okay, so let's see, CWRU people to Hamsci. So I'll tell you what I absolutely need to know immediately or as soon as possible. Well, I need to, so many of you, including you, David, and I think Christina and even Rachel, many of you have already paid for your registration using the Hamsci website, right?
I haven't, but some others have.
I have.
Some others, yeah, a number of people have. So if I'm paying for you, what I want to do is I want you to not use that website to register. I'm going to pay for you a different way. And so what I need, I'm able to have them issue a refund. So it'll just go right back to your credit card. Okay. But I need to know which of those people, basically as soon as I can, I need to know which Case Western people have paid that need a full refund.
I did already. Sorry.
Yeah. It's totally okay, because like I didn't make that all clear. And there's a lot of reasons for it not being all clear, but full refund needed.
Yeah, and Christina is probably having some audio problems again. She said that somebody probably registered her.
Yes, I believe so. So I guess, here's what, I can get the list of people who have registered. Let me stop sharing for a minute. Just gonna get the screen share, screen two. Okay, so case people that I know have registered. Full refund needed. So that's going to be so Gary, I'm paying for you. You're going to get a full refund. I think Tom McDermott's going to get a full refund. I know the University of Alabama, they're using their grant, so they're not getting a full refund. Rachel, I'm paying for you, you're getting a full refund. I imagine, I'm guessing that Nathaniel Vishner is probably going to help out with some of the demos. So I'm assuming that I will be doing a full refund for him. Adam Goodman, Andre, and the two Andres, they are getting paid for by case, so I'm going to leave them on. Christina, you are probably going to get a full refund. David, you're probably going to get a full refund.
Thank you. Right, thank you. But I just registered. Not,
Yes.
yeah, right, the way you told me to.
Right. Okay, so downloads. So if I have this right, Christina's getting a full refund, Rachel's going to get a full refund. John did not register this way, so he doesn't need a refund. Matt Cannell did not register this way, so I don't have to worry about him. Victor hasn't registered yet. And Nathaniel, let me just double check this one more time if there are any more case people. Okay, I think we're
you're
good.
covered. Thank you.
Okay, so I will work with them to get you guys a full refund on that.
And you left out fluid
And-
on that list.
Which list was that?
The one of phases. Left out the non-distinguishable fluid, neither gas nor liquid.
Oh, yeah. I'll have to work on that. So anyway, okay, so you guys are all taken care of. So then let me give you some further instructions. Anyone I am paying for with the grant, I have a special link for you to register with. I'm going to put in the chat now. Select responses.
Do I still need to register for that? Or?
If you have not filled this form out yet, then yes.
Okay.
So, okay, so if you look in the chat, there is now a link that is the form you should fill out if you're being paid for from the grant. And it should only take you a minute or so to fill out. So if you're on this call, if you can fill, so the people that I know of that are going, that are on this call that are being funded include Rachel, David, Dylan, Gary, and Christina. Okay, so you can fill that form out. And yes. Okay. So, and then David and Christina or Rachel, whichever Case Western person decides you're in charge of that, for those other people who are case people that we decided that Scranton is paying for, please send them that link and have them register as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you again. Good.
Okay. Let's see here. Okay. I think that's good with that. So some other news regarding registration costs. I went through all of the grant budget numbers and I decided I can subsidize all of the registration costs. So if you look on the HamSci website right now, there's a new pricing structure, which I think is really friendly to people who are in the community. So it's now for Friday during the day, $15. And that includes breakfast, lunch, and refreshments. The Friday banquet's $20, Saturday registration is $15, and Saturday dinner is $15. If you have already registered, which is like Bill Engelkey and a few other people, if you've already registered, we will refund the difference so that you're only paying this rate. It just may take us a little bit of time to get the get that refund processed, but we are in process of doing that. So I think this is a much better pricing for the community. I also went through everyone that I'm aware of is either presenting, whether I'm paying for them or they're paying for themselves, whether they're presenting a poster, a talk, something like that. I'm at around 130 people that I'm estimating are coming to the workshop so far. So I think that's really good. I think the space, the auditorium we have is has a seating count of 167. So we're actually pretty high up already. But I think if we do go to if we get to 200 people, which I think that would be crazy if we got to 200 people, but let's just say we got to 200 people. What I could do is I can open up another classroom in the same building and we can live stream to that classroom and stick my meeting owl in there. And so that can act as overflow. It's not perfect, but I think it's going to be better than trying to move it from the room we're in right now, because the auditorium is right next to where the poster hall is and a lot of other stuff. We're using a number of other resources in this building. So I don't think it makes sense to do that. All right. I think those are the main things. I'm also some big news. The NSF program manager, who's in charge of the Grape grant, she's planning on being there. So we really want to put our best foot forward with the Grape stuff. The NASA program scientist that's in charge of our direct connection to NASA, SAS, he's planning on being there. And there's two representatives from ARDC, John Hayes, K7VE, and Dan Romanchik, KB6NU, who's well known to people as writing the no nonsense amateur radio license guides. They will be there also. So we have some really good representation from those organizations.
Real quick, Nathaniel, what
Yes.
role would I be classified as?
You can put down presenter.
Presenter, okay. I
Yeah.
wasn't sure if that was only reserved for them, so.
Yeah, so if you're giving, I can I can adjust the form to make that a little bit more clear, I think. Funded participant form is Actually, I think I'm just gonna leave it the way it is, otherwise it's gonna screw things up. But yeah, so if you're giving a demonstration, if you're giving any sort of a, table or something like that, you're gonna be a presenter or co-author.
Okay. And then the it was required, so I just stuck it in there. But I just have a little joke for the
Okay.
institution / club. I just put my handies. Are you fine with that?
Sure, that's fine.
Okay.
What that information, it will go on to the name badges, but I will probably I'm the one who edits the name badges before they go out, so there might be a little filtering that happens.
I mean, for me personally, I wouldn't mind if it's on there. So
Okay. I could I could do that. I have a little bit of a sense of humor. At least I hope I do.
if I was in my local club, I would put them in there, but
yeah,
I'm not registered to them yet. So
yeah. The other alternative, if people don't put in anything, I often just lump them in this ham side community. So
I've never seen a base gift board.
yeah. Okay, I think any other questions about the program or funding or hotels or anything like that?
Nathaniel, one quick item. You mentioned something about refunding something to several people, including me. Check with me before you do that, because I think we'll have to figure out some way to refund it to the university's credit card, not to me.
Right.
So.
Right. Well, who paid for it? The university's credit card?
Yeah, and then they have a way of then tying that back to the contract.
Right. It would. So basically, when we do the refund, it will go back to whatever credit card it was originally put on.
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So it should go back to whatever card was used to pay. That's the card that's going to see the refund. And I'll send all the email addresses associated with those things, an email explaining the situation.
Okay.
Okay. But we had the extra money, and I wanted to make the prices more so that people, off the street could come to this thing. So, yeah. And I got interviewed by a WVIA NPR reporter yesterday. So we should be at least on the local NPR station. I think that's it for me. Back to Net.
Okay. Grape update. I still don't think it's gonna be possible. I don't see John in the listing yet. So I know David had a free datum coherent CW talk he wanted to point out.
I have one comment on the grape stuff.
Yes.
Rob Robinette, he is the guy who does all the WhisperNet stuff with the Kiwi SDRs. He and Gwen have also recently figured out that the Kiwi SDRs with their existing hardware, as long as they're running the correct version of the operating system, have very accurate frequency measurement as well. And so he is going to start doing a pilot where he also has a data collection infrastructure to collect wave files from these things. So he's going to start a pilot program where he collects equivalent Grape data using the Kiwi SDRs and start sending that to his system. So in the near future, we should see some plots. There's some data from him. We'll at least see data from him, wave files. I will probably have him give you those wave files, Rachel, and have you work those up into spectrogram plots and see how they compared to the grapes. But it'd be really nice if this is actually true, because there is already a good network of Kiwi SDRs that's already in place. And I think it's nice to have as many contingency plans as possible before the eclipse, in case there's a supply chain shortage, we can't get things figured out with the Grape 2s. It's good just having two completely independent networks in case one server goes down, having this redundancy is really good, because at the end of the day with the grant, we want to have the grapes out there, but as long as we can write some science papers that meet the objectives of the grant, we're doing really well. So
The more fruit, the merrier.
that's right.
And
Yes.
they're all
Just like the military says, 2 is 1 and 1 is none.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. 2 is 1 and 1 is none. So we're trying to diversify our data collection efforts. I guess it'll be interesting. Yeah. So we'll have kiwis and grapes. It'll be like a fruit salad. Kiwis, grapes, tangerines.
fruit salad. Okay. Free datum talk really briefly, and then Christina had another point about data collection as well. So David, did you want to point out, you said that you wanted to highlight a coherent CW talk?
For those interested in coherent CW, Bill Lyles mentioned that the day before Dayton Hamvention begins, there's going to be a talk at a parallel conference on coherent CW. Matt Cannell and I will attend, we'll report back, but if anybody wants more information, let me know.
Which parallel conference is that, David?
It's the 4 days in May QRP. I've forgotten the name of the QRP group, but the talk is by the 2 fellows who run Midnight Designs, and they have had very good kitted QRP products over the years. So I didn't know anybody else was working on coherent CW. I'm really curious what comes up.
That's great.
Okay.
I'm going to be so also the day before the Hamvention is the Contest University. So I will be at Contest University. I'm giving a talk on as a professor there, on the solar eclipse QSO parties and the Festival of Eclipse Ionospheric Measurements, Ionospheric Science. So that'll be good to have Hamsci people both at CTU and at 4 days in May.
Okay. And then Christina, do you want to talk?
KOISU, John for that, but did want to, I lost audio for when Nathaniel was talking Kiwi recording. So what length of recording did you want this test, Nathaniel? Because I already have quite a number of previous experiments as well.
Well, but Rob has an infrastructure to snarf up all the data already. So he's gonna try doing this in 1 minute file segments, 1 minute wave files, but he said he can run it for like, indefinite periods of time.
Okay, I also have that. So if you need me fallback, let me know.
Okay, great.
Christina, did you, were the other 2 points you had about, did you want John to be here for them, or did you say?
The one with the shell script for the file. The other one I'll chat about with Nathaniel at the workshop.
Well, I meant, I didn't get the call sign KS0.
KOYSU.
Okay. That's a later. Okay. Anybody else have any agenda items?
Are we done? Should I go through earlier somebody was asking me some things about the website and file
Right.
conversion. Want me to talk about that?
Sure.
Okay, let's see. Bill is AB1XB is there. Who's asking about that? You still there, Bill?
Yes, Bill.
Gosh. Hang on a second. Damn it. What is going on here?
I hate computers.
Dang it, I thought everyone loved computers.
Problem is, sometimes they hate us back. That's when it really gets ugly.
How true.
Is my audio coming through now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there's some bad connection with my microphones or something. All right. Yeah, I think that's what it was. All right, we have developed a website. Let me bring it up here and show the group. Some of you, I'm sure, have already seen this. This is up and running and you can sign up for it. We're going to be signing people up at Hamside, demoing it. Right there. Okay, can you see the front page of it right there?
Yes, sir.
All right. If you'd like to have an account on this, there's a free account. You just go through and hit register your station. Then you can fill up various things to sign up for it. It will send an email verification to your email, and then you'll have an account. Once you have an account, then you add one or more stations to it. And then for under each station, you add one or more instruments. And then once you have your instruments created, then there's upload software that you can use to upload data from a Grape running digital RF or a magnetometer. So we log in here. And then once you start uploading data, each little data package you upload is called an observation. These are the last few observations that have been uploaded by various people. And these are all magnetometers. Once it's there, you or anybody else can download it and then work with any plotting software you want, or any other software you want to work with it. Now, Hillman's team at NJIT is writing an additional package to add to this website that will allow plotting of magnetometer data and stacking up various different ones so you can compare them. That I don't know what the schedule is for that being ready, but they have some pretty smart people working on it. So I think we'll probably see some results on that in fairly short order. There's various ways you can filter this. This is the current filtering. We have an updated version of this that has a much better filtering to filter observations. We haven't put it into production yet, so I can't really show that yet, but go and have a look at this and contact me with any questions. There's a couple of different ways to get to it. I believe you can also get to it by keying in psws.hamside.org. Yeah, and I think PSWS network. I can remember what oh, there it is. No, yeah, there it is. Well, it says PSWS. How come? Anyway, the way you
What are you looking for?
that link that we created that allows a user to bring up the personal space weather station central control system from hamside.org.
Oh, right. I'll make sure that works. I'll get
Okay.
back to you on that.
Okay. If you want to have a look at it in advance, pswsnetwork.caps.ua.edu, not capos, just caps. That is my organization. And so if I don't put a bunch of typos in there, then it will work. Yeah. So, and I'll put that in the chat. There's a chat here. Okay. And that will eventually have a working hamsci.org URL as well. So that's that. Now, there was a question about DRF. Now, okay, let me explain what we're doing about data. The magnetometer data is being saved in CSV format, just like it is today. The data that's being collected by magnetometers today is going to continue to be collected like it is. The only variable there is whether it's stored as straight CSV or stored in the CSV file in JSON format, and either one is trivial to handle. So that's magnetometer data. Now, spectrum data is another kettle of fish. It is theoretically possible that someone could write a package to take the data that's stored in digital RF format, which is spectrum data, it's raw spectrum, and then process it in some way to output the type of files that FLDigi creates. I say I believe it's theoretically possible. We don't have it in our, that would not be a trivial program to write. We don't have it in our scope to produce that. Nathaniel might want to address that. I know there's a lot of interest in being able to produce FLDigi compatible files from digital RF. That's a little bit beyond our level of expertise at the moment. I'm sure that somebody with sufficient expertise could do that. But right now it's not in scope or in the project, but I recognize there's a lot of people interested in having that. So we have to talk about it.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
Now what we are also working on a plotting package for digital RF, which will allow you to display waterfalls of digital RF data. Which basically what you're looking at is you're looking at the whole spectrum when it gets Doppler shifted. And I say the whole spectrum, what we do is we zoom into plus and minus 5 hertz around the carrier frequency. And then you'll see the multiple traces that occur when you have up to 4 bounces of your signal, of the WWV signal. So that you can see that to convert that to a single number is that shows what the Doppler shift is, like FLDigi does. Greater minds than I will have to work on how to do that. So anyway, that is where it stands right now. So back to Ned.
Would it be helpful just for thought purposes to just think about why some people might want digital? I mean, we know why we want digital RF, and that's the direction we're going with the spectrum, no questions asked. A few people suggested if we can kind of fold that back into CSV type data. I'd like to understand why that request is coming up, and that might help us.
Ask your
priorities in the
question again,
future.
Gary.
I'm sorry, again?
Ask your question again, Gary.
So if we've got digital RF data and a few people have asked, and Bill mentioned it's theoretically possible to, I almost say downgrade it to CSV data. The question is, if people are interested in that, I guess I'd want to know why.
So a couple of notes on that. The digital RF data is has a much higher data rate, and they're much larger files. It is theoretically possible to make an equivalent, to derive an equivalent data product to the current FLDigi outputs from the digital RF observations. What that gets you is that we'll get you a much smaller file that's easier to handle. What you lose is you lose a tremendous amount of information that's really critical to understand what's going on within with the data. And so I know Christina feels extremely strongly that the existing Grape version 1 station should not be swapped over before we generate FLDigi compatible files from digital RF format, and that have been validated. And we are trying to do that. I think there are some people, in general, I support that. I think there are a couple people we do want to have soon. Some people do want to try out the new digital RF format, and I think that at least some of the stations, if the individual operators want to do that, I think they should be allowed to. But I think we're still kind of in a holding pattern here. We're still just trying to get the Grape 2 up and running, see what data output it actually gives, and then decide from there. Because John Gibbons is trying to figure out exactly what they can actually produce in terms of a data file. And once we know exactly what he actually can produce, then we can figure out what format it really needs to go into.
It should be noted that digital RF is the format that we're going to store the Tangerine data in. So there's an advantage to have them compatible. I should note also that, let's say we developed a package that could read in DRF and output CSV files. Okay, there's not saying we have to delete the spectrum data. I mean, we can take and we can save.
And that has always been the goal for me. The goal has always been from day one, before any of this ever got funded, was to take in, the digital RF data and then have something that, reduces it to, makes it so you can reduce it to the current Grape product.
Right, there's a large body of software for doing analytics on the CSV data. And to the extent that we continue to produce it, we can produce comparable files and compare them. So, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I think I'm still just kind of holding out a little longer, because I think John Gibbons, at least from last week's report, he looks like he's making progress. I really want to see what the Grape 2 can do. I thought it was very encouraging that Rob Robinette has a system in place that's totally independent for collecting similar data using the Kiwi SDR. I think that will be something to look at too. So I'm still kind of in a holding pattern on this sort of thing. So I'm really hoping that John can have a working prototype very, very soon.
Good. I think that was a helpful explanation. It kind of gets the community all on the same page, understand where we're at and where we might want to go and what pitfalls are in front of us right now. So that's good.
It should also be pointed out, another question might come up is, can you save the spectrum data into CSV files? The short answer is yes, you can. However, the CSV files are incredibly inefficient in terms of storing data. And so the amount of data, the size of those CSV files will just be way too large for us to possibly handle. You can save an enormous amount of disk space by being smart with using certain binary formats and even some possible compression, and you won't lose any data doing that. So we need to make sure for this to be scalable, to be tractable, we have to go that route. And this is one of the advantages of digital RF, is that it has a number of those sorts of considerations baked into it.
Yeah, we have a couple of Grape 1 stations running digital RF now, and we have compression turned on. I mean, there's various levels, but even at the first level, it cuts this data file size by 60%. So it makes it something that would be very unwieldy to be handleable. So, yeah.
And it does that even at a fairly low computational cost.
Yeah, it'll do it fine on a Raspberry Pi.
Yeah. So I think we just have to see, I think John Gibbons is going in the right direction. The boards in the report he gave last week, I thought showed last week were encouraging. So I'm just, holding out, really hoping that he can get it over the hump to produce something that is going to give us a prototype and some real data in short order. And then we can figure out how exactly it's going to be routed. I'm envisioning one of two solutions. Either every Grape 2 is going to have a Raspberry Pi or some sort of equivalent board sitting in front of it running Linux that will convert from whatever data format that they have the raw ADC or spitting out, they'll actually do a conversion to digital RF at the Grape 2 before sending it to Bill. That's option number one. Option number two is they just get the data packed up into whatever binary format that they, can deal with. They then ship it up to Bill, and then on Bill's servers, there's some sort of a batch job that converts it over to digital RF before storing it in his final database. I think either solution is acceptable. I think it's more just seeing who has a little more processing power to be able to handle it and stuff like that. So I think, but let's just see what John actually comes up with and what the final computing power of the Grape is.
Can I make a couple of comments?
Yes.
Sorry, I come on late. I've got a standing meeting until 10 o'clock on Thursdays, but just to jump in on that, you're going to want to send the data in the most compact format possible. So if you can have the Raspberry Pi, the local host, put it in that format, that's probably preferable. And then if you want to process it as a CSV, come up with a simple script that would create the CSV as a intermediate file. And as soon as you analyze it, you could delete it, so you don't have to store it.
Oh, I totally agree with all of that. And in terms of, so the second thing we're already planning on doing, basically, and the first thing, even if John says, look, I can't do the digital RF format, but I can provide you this like wave or binary format. I think one of the problems with the digital RF is it's a little finicky getting all of the required libraries installed on whatever operating system. I think even if you had the binary files and did like a bzip2 compression or a gzip compression, those libraries are readily available even for less common operating systems or more niche operating systems. So I think we'd have a way of sending a compressed file up to Bill to save on bandwidth.
Yeah, I'm particularly sensitive to that because being on Comcast/Xfinity, they give us very good download bandwidth, but very poor upload. So
yeah,
it's very desirable to compress the data as best as possible.
I agree. Yeah, so all that's very good. I think we're all we're all on compatible lines of thinking here. So, but it still comes down to what John can actually have the thing produce. So until we know exactly what this thing's producing, it's all speculation. So back to you,
Nathaniel?
Matt. Yeah.
So let me explain one of the reasons that Bill's asking the question about the CSV is that he produces a number of charts every day, every evening when the data goes in that we compare. And it serves multiple purposes. We have our own meeting every morning. So we review these based, just trying to understand what they represent, but also whether one of the grapes has gone off the chart somehow. So it's important that people get kind of immediate feedback somehow that things are operating properly. And
they will absolutely get immediate feedback if they're operating properly.
But once it goes into digital RF, we split up our nodes as to what we can see.
Yeah, there will be a transition period here. All I can say for right now is if you have a system that's running happily and you like the Grape ones, if you see Christina Collins put a note in the chart, we'll note here, I feel strongly existing Grape version 1 stations do not be swapped over before we know we can generate these things. If you have a system that you're happy with and you're working on this and you don't feel like doing anything experimental, just keep doing what you're doing right now. And then we will have some people who are going to want to be more on the experimental side. The new Grape 2s are going to be pushing to the new version. And then as we get that new hardware out, we'll work on this validation. We're going to make the transition that way and it'll make more sense. But I can promise that the data that once it goes into digital RF data, you will be able to it absolutely will be theoretically possible to take the digital RF data, run it through an algorithm that produces something identical to what FLDigi would. So we do have to get someone to code that up, but it will eventually be possible. I think so just for now, just keep doing what you're doing. Keep running this stuff as you're running it. You know, we are getting useful information from there. Yeah. And I also want people to know, there's always this question of, is my data being used? Is it just going into a black box? It absolutely is being used. It's hard to know, you know, what's going to be used on an everyday basis. But I have a student, Veronica, who many of you have met. She's working on a project right now where she's now starting to look at things from a statistical or climatological sense. So just, you know, 2 weeks ago, I had her download all of the Grape data from like the last 2 years from the servers. I had her plot all of the data. She's looked through pretty much all of it and has picked certain stations that out of that she's decided is going to work. And now she's working on some computer programs that's taking that like a full year's worth of data and doing statistics on it. So these things, just having that stuff go into the system, it is, you know, making this sort of thing possible. Another way this stuff happens is, you know, I think Christina, if your audio works, you can explain to people what you're doing with the solar flares, right?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Can you? Okay, good.
That's even
Yeah,
better.
so that's probably because I've gone from Bluetooth to wired. So yeah, we have an ongoing experiment which Shibaji Chakraborty and I will be talking about at the Hamsai workshop in one of the talks, which is that we are looking at the response that the Grape stations have to Doppler flash associated with solar flares. And what we're doing over the course of the next couple of years is we are waiting to see enough X-class, M-class, and C-class solar flares that we can make a statistical study of the responses of all the available Grape stations. So in order to do that, we need an unbroken data set for that period of time. That's why I want to make sure that Grapes that are currently collecting data, you know, if you are a station maintainer and you have a Grape that is collecting data in the old format and you want to experiment with digital RF, you know, go ahead by all means. But if you have one and it's running, please, you know, keep it running if you know, if you happen to be fine with the current configuration, because that will be of use to us. And the reason that I want to make sure that we have code set up to be able to pull data from digital RF and integrate it into the data set we already have, that study is the main reason. But it's also that the infrastructure that supports that study and makes that data usable is something that we've, you know, put some effort into and that is has been made available and is, I think, going to be easier for people to navigate than the digital RF. So, you know, at least in those early stages. So I just want to make sure that we have that kind of thing validated, because we can replicate and repeat the analyses that we've already done on that over the course of the past couple of years if we have a CSV product that we can take out of digital RF. So what I have in mind for it is, you know, I know that in GNU Radio Companion, for example, you can create a converter, and some already exist for being able to take the digital RF data and to have some frequency estimation algorithm block, and then to format that into a CSV file. And we could compile that as a program. What I would like to do when we get to that point is take one of the stations that is within ground wave of WWV and ask Mike Lombardi to repeat the Allen deviation analysis with that data that would result from this intermediate software layer, to repeat the same analysis that he reported at Hamsai last year, to get sort of that upper bound on the measured frequency stability, because that would then be something that we could use as the validation to say, okay, this new data set version can be merged into the old data set, and these should be close enough. And so that's kind of what I have in mind for it. But the short version is, you know, we're very much using the Grape 1 data in its current form, and I don't want to interrupt it because it will take years to collect the data that we actually want during solar cycle 25.
I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think understanding that, I think our plan of succession is really going to be fine because I agree with Christina. Don't push to change everything over. I think we need a couple of stations like Todd Christel is running both for comparison. But then keep the rest of them running. And then as we get the Grape 2s deployed, we'll gradually transition over in a way that allows everything to work properly.
In the sweet by and by.
Yeah. So on this call, you have Stan, George, who else is you're
Bill.
all from
Bill.
and Bill, you're all from the New England Grape group.
Right.
That's great. So we are almost out of time, but I think so you meet every morning talking about this.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah. One thing we're trying to do is we're trying to build more grapes and be able to listen to more frequencies. And the reason for going to digital RF was to see if we can actually support 3 grapes on 1 Raspberry Pi due to the difficulty of obtaining Raspberry Pis. And so to do that, we're trying to use the Bodner to drive an SI5351 board to create 3 clock outputs. And we programmed that to produce, any of the 8 or 9 different frequency standards that you choose, and 3 of them, and to be able to support 3 grapes. And then our idea was to stream that into digital RF and then somehow convert that to the FLDigi CSV files for Christina. But it's a work in progress. We're just playing with it, and we're trying to measure how much jitter the 5351 adds to the Bodner signal, to see if it introduces any degradation in the frequency of the Doppler shift. So that's what we're doing. That's sort of the reason for my question to Bill Engelke.
That makes sense. Does your group, how many from your group, do any people from your group want to come to the Hamside workshop? I think Bob Reif is part of your.
Stan is coming, and Bob Reif is coming. Bob is giving the talk on IGY.
Yes, I've been talking with him, and I have offered this to Bob. I can offer really to anyone in the New England Grape group. If you would like to come, I can fund you. So
that's very gracious.
If you want, that's what the grant money is there for, to support people like you to come to things like this. So if you want to, you can just send me an email and I can put you in touch with how you get the hotel and all that stuff.
I'm not going to be able to attend, but I think Stan will be there, and I don't know about George, whether you could.
Stan, do you want funding?
I don't need funding, so if you have some other use for it, that's fine with me.
Well, let me put it this way. I do have a good amount of funding, so if you would like it, that's what it's there for.
Well, we can communicate offline if you want.
Okay, that sounds great. So, okay. And same for you, George.
Thank you.
You're welcome. It's interesting, just so you know, it's kind of interesting how some of this funding works. We have the money to support this workshop. I really do have to spend it. So sometimes not spending it is actually a bigger problem than spending it. And then there are certain people on this call who actually have other grants or reasons that they're not allowed to accept the money. Like Aiden's now working for the federal government in time and frequency, and there's actually a law that says I can't use NSF dollars to pay for federal employees who are already, working in this field. They have to pull. So this is how it works.
That reminds me of a question that came up here, that European Space Weather Week take place in November.
Mhm.
We would need to do a no-cost extension on our NASA grant, I guess, to be able to use that, wouldn't we? Or
Yes, and we need to, I guess I need to start talking to the program officers now. I guess I'll probably start. Yeah, I'll add that to my list. So I have every intention of filing for no cost extension with that.
Okay.
Talking with. Yes,
all right, we'll just we'll play by your lead on that.
okay. So yeah, we need to plan for a no NCE on that. Okay, I think we are over time. Thank you so much, everybody. Let me know how things go, and I will talk to all of you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. 7-3.